A fool who thinks they're untouchable is more dangerous to themselves than to anyone else. Arrogance blinds, and blindness leads straight to the fall. They thought they had you cornered. Chosen ones. They laughed behind closed doors, thinking you were in the dark while they moved in secrecy. They spun their web of lies, convinced you wouldn't see the strings they pulled. But now they realize the truth, and it terrifies them. You were never blind. You were never fooled. You were simply watching, waiting, letting them dig their own graves. And now they stand shaken, exposed, unable to hide from what they always feared. You knew all along. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe. Every time you do, it helps spread this message to more chosen ones, signaling to the universe and to the system that we are rising, that their illusions are crumbling, that the truth cannot be buried. They never understood the power of being chosen. It's not just insight, not just wisdom. It's the way your very existence disturbs their false reality. You don't need to lift a finger, and yet they feel your presence like a shadow they can't shake. The weight of your awareness haunts them because when a chosen one walks into a room, deception begins to tremble. They thought they were moving in silence, but you heard every whisper before they even spoke. They thought they were steps ahead, but you had already mapped out every path, every trap, every failed attempt to keep you contained. They fought you, not realizing they were fighting something far greater, the universe itself. You see, chosen ones aren't just people. They are walking truths. And truth is the one force that cannot be manipulated, controlled, or silenced. They spent years trying to rewrite reality, building their empire on lies, deception, and control. But the problem with illusions, they shatter the moment they are seen for what they are. That's why they fear you, not because of what you do, but because of what you represent. Proof that their power was never real to begin with. Proof that no matter how much they scheme, manipulate, or attempt to rewrite the narrative, truth will always emerge. Now look at them scrambling, panicked. Every move they make is drenched in desperation. They try to act like they're still in control, but the cracks are showing. The confidence they once had gone. The smirks they wore like armor faded. They feel the shift, and it terrifies them. They are no longer the hunters. They are the hunted. And the thing chasing them isn't you. It's their own guilt, their own realization that they were never as powerful as they believed, that no matter how high they climbed, one moment of truth was all it took to bring their tower crashing down. And now they're left questioning everything, every word they spoke, every move they made, every game they played. Did you already know? Did you see it coming? Were you always steps ahead, just waiting for them to trip over their own arrogance? Yes, you were. That's the power of being chosen. You don't need to destroy them. They destroy themselves the moment they realize you were never blind. So let them fear. Let them unravel under the weight of their own deception. Let them stand in the ruins of their own illusions, knowing that the very thing they tried to control was always beyond their reach. And to you, chosen one, the one who was always steps ahead, the one they underestimated, your presence here is no coincidence. Whether this is your first time or you've been standing strong with us, know this: your awareness is your power, and they fear it. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment the number 77 if you've ever felt their fear shift the air around you. Their illusions are breaking. And now, let's break them down step by step. If you are truly chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay till the end. Let's get started. Number 1. They thought they held the strings. Turns out they were the puppets. The most dangerous trap is the one a fool builds for someone else only to fall into it themselves. They smirked, thinking they were in control. They played their games, convinced they were pulling the strings, whispered lies, set traps, moved in shadows, believing they were untouchable. But the whole time, they were the ones being played. They didn't realize the universe doesn't favor deception. It aligns itself with truth. It bends reality for the chosen ones. They weren't just fighting against you. They were fighting against the very system of existence itself. And now they feel the weight of their failure pressing down on them. The panic in their eyes, the cracks in their confidence. It's the moment they realize the illusion was always theirs, while the reality was always yours. They strutted like kings, believing they had you trapped in their little web. Every calculated lie, every manipulative tactic, they thought they were steps ahead. But what happens when a spider forgets it's being watched? What happens when the hunter doesn't realize they're the prey? They become reckless, sloppy, drunk off their own illusion of power. And that's exactly what happened. You let them believe they were winning. You let them think they had outsmarted you. Why? Because nothing makes an enemy weaker than their own arrogance. When someone believes they've won, they stop looking over their shoulder. They get comfortable, and in that comfort expose themselves. Every weakness, every insecurity, every desperate move they made to keep you down. And you saw it all. You saw how they needed to control, how they needed to feel superior. You saw how fragile they really were beneath the act. Because Chosen One, if they were truly powerful, they wouldn't have needed to scheme against you. Think about it. Why did they try so hard? Why did they go out of their way to deceive, to manipulate, to orchestrate their little game? Because they knew deep down they were never really in control. The universe always moves in favor of the chosen ones. You don't need to manipulate or deceive. The truth is your power. The system works with you, not against you. And no matter how many games they play, how many masks they wear, or how many tricks they try, reality always catches up. And now it's caught up with them. Look at them now. The confidence they once had, it's turned into doubt. The arrogance they flaunted, it's unraveling. Their hands are shaking. Their words are stumbling. Their minds are racing because they don't know how much you knew. When did you figure it out? How long have you been steps ahead? Did they ever really have control at all? No, they didn't. They weren't playing against you. They were playing against something much bigger, something they could never control. The balance of the universe itself. And the universe never loses. Every time they thought they were making progress, they were only walking deeper into the maze they built for themselves. They weren't moving forward. They were tying themselves in knots. And now, as they struggle to break free, they're starting to understand you were never trapped. They were. That's why they fear you. Not because of what you did, but because of what you knew. Because, while they were playing checkers, you were rewriting the entire rulebook. They fought to control you. But now they're the ones who feel powerless. They tried to keep you blind, but now they're the ones stumbling in the dark. The moment they realized, you knew all along, that's when their world started to fall apart. Let them feel it. Let them wrestle with their own paranoia. Let them question every move they made, every secret they thought they kept, every illusion they believed was real. Because now they aren't just facing their mistakes, they're facing the truth. And the truth, it was never on their side. Number 2, they thought they were ghosts in the dark. But you saw every footprint they left behind. The cleverest deception is only as strong as the first crack it leaves behind. And once the cracks start, the whole illusion falls apart. They moved like shadows, whispering in corners, exchanging glances, thinking they were unseen. They crafted their deception with careful hands, convinced they were the masters of secrecy. But what they never understood is that you were always watching. They thought they were slick, measuring every word, faking every smile, choosing their pauses like actors in a play. They believed their little tricks made them untouchable. But deception, no matter how refined, always leaves fingerprints. And you saw them all. Every nervous twitch, every glance held for a second too long, every forced laugh, every sudden silence. They thought they were crafting a flawless illusion, but you were dissecting it piece by piece while they plotted in the dark. Convinced of their secrecy, you saw through every move before they even made it. And now the walls are closing in. The moment they realized you weren't fooled, the moment they understood that their hidden games were never hidden at all, that's when the fear started creeping in. That's when the panic took hold. Now they're scrambling, retracing their steps, wondering where they slipped. Was it the way they spoke? The way their stories never quite added up? Was it that one time they looked away too quickly? They don't know. And that uncertainty, it's eating them alive. The irony is, they slipped from the start. Their so-called mastery of deception, it was just a carefully built house of cards. And with every fake gesture, every calculated word, they were stacking it higher until now, when it's all starting to collapse. They thought they were leading the game, that every move was theirs to control. But the truth, they were never leading anything. They were leaving a trail, one you followed effortlessly. They believed their confidence made them untouchable, that their arrogance could shield them from exposure. But that's the fatal flaw of liars. The more they believe in their own deception, the more reckless they become. And you simply waited. You let them think their game was working. Let them get comfortable in their false sense of security. Let them spin their web until they were tangled in it themselves. And then reality hit them like a freight train. Now they can't look at you the same way. Every conversation replays in their mind. Every interaction is a question mark. They hesitate before speaking, measuring their words more carefully. But it's too late. The moment they realize they were never in control, they lost everything. They can't undo it. They can't erase what's been seen, can't go back and fix their mistakes, and that's what haunts them the most. Not just that you know, but that you always knew. The paranoia is setting in now. The realization that you were never blind, just patient. And the worst part, they can't escape the truth. They thought they were running the show, but now they see it for what it really was, a performance they weren't even directing. They thought they were keeping secrets, but the only one truly in the dark was them. So, let them feel it. Chosen one. Let them sit in the wreckage of their own foolishness. Because in the end, their biggest mistake wasn't the lies they told. It was believing even for a second that they could ever hide the truth from you. Number 3, they thought they were watching you. Turns out you were watching them. The greatest trick a chosen one ever pulls is letting the enemy think they're in control while quietly dismantling them from the inside. They believed they were observing you, analyzing you, picking you apart, watching for a slip-up, waiting for a weakness. They thought if they studied you long enough, they'd find a way to control you, to use your strengths against you. But what they didn't realize was that the game was never about you being exposed. It was about them exposing themselves. And they did. Every conversation, every move, every false display of confidence, they thought they were playing it smart. But you weren't just listening to their words. You were listening to the spaces between them. You weren't just watching their actions. You were watching the hesitation before them. And what did you find? Fear. They were so desperate to study you, to figure you out. But in doing so, they showed you everything about themselves. Their fears, their insecurities, their weaknesses. They thought they were hunting you, but really, they were putting their own fears on display. And you saw everything. It was never about you hiding. It was about letting them reveal what they feared most. You let them believe they were in control. You let them feel like they were gathering information. You played along just enough to make them feel confident, because a confident enemy is a careless enemy. And careless enemies make mistakes. Think about it. Why did they need to study you in the first place? Why were they so obsessed with understanding how you think, how you move, how you operate? Because they knew they were up against something they couldn't fully grasp. They could sense it. The way you moved differently, the way you never reacted, the way they expected, the way you remained calm while they were constantly on edge. They knew something was off, but they couldn't put their finger on it. And that's what drove them insane. They thought they were getting close to cracking the code, but every time they thought they had figured you out, you proved them wrong. They thought they had a pattern to your behavior, but you moved in ways they couldn't predict. And slowly it started to dawn on them. They were never in control of this game. They spent so much time trying to figure you out, they never realized you had already figured them out. And now look at them scrambling, confused, wondering how they got here. They thought they had the upper hand, but the whole time they were simply exposing their own weaknesses. Now they sit in silence, replaying every interaction, questioning every move they made. How much did you know? When did you figure them out? Were they ever actually fooling you? No, they weren't fooling you. They were fooling themselves. Because a truly strong person doesn't need to study their opponent. They don't need to control, manipulate, or scheme. They simply are. And you were always steps ahead. Not because you played their game better, but because you never needed the game to begin with. That's why they feel powerless now. That's why their confidence is slipping. Why their words are losing their edge. Because the moment they realized you knew all along, the weight of their own insecurities came crashing down on them. They thought they had you figured out, but in the end, it was always the other way around. Number 4. They shouted lies, but their actions whispered the truth. A liar's words can build a fortress, but their actions leave the doors wide open. They thought they had you fooled, chosen one. They spoke with confidence, wove their deception with precision, and acted like they had everything under control. But no matter how polished their words were, their actions betrayed them. They forgot one thing. Lies require consistency, but the truth reveals itself effortlessly. Their mouths spoke one thing, but their hands fumbled, their eyes darted, their movements stiffened, their timing was off. They were so busy crafting an illusion with words that they didn't realize their own bodies were screaming the truth. And you caught it all. Every hesitation, every nervous glance, every unnatural pause between words. They thought they were playing it cool. Thought their performance was flawless. But every chosen one knows that deception can never mask energy. A liar will tell you what they want you to believe. But their actions, they tell you what they're trying to hide. That's why they hate being around you. Because no matter how well they rehearse their script, you feel the truth before they even open their mouth. They tried to look you in the eyes, but their gaze kept shifting. They forced a laugh, but their voice cracked. They gave empty reassurances, but their energy reeked of fear. And now they're realizing that you were never listening to their words. You were reading them the whole time. That's what separates you from them. They rely on illusions, on smoke and mirrors, on making people believe what isn't real. But you don't need words. You don't need explanations. You don't even need proof. Because chosen ones don't see with their eyes. They feel with their intuition. And now their worst fear has come true. You never needed them to confess. You never needed them to slip up. Because their own actions have already told you everything. Think back. Every time they lied to your face, something felt off, didn't it? You couldn't always explain it, but deep down you knew. A shift in energy, a break in character, the slightest inconsistency. It was always there. And now they know that you knew. That's why they're uneasy around you now. That's why they avoid eye contact. Why they stutter through their sentences. Why they rush their words like they're running out of time. Because they are. Time is up. The game is over. And they lost the moment they assumed you only listened to words. The truth doesn't hide no matter how much they try to cover it. Lies can be spoken, but truth seeps through actions like water, through cracks in stone. And no matter how hard they try to patch those cracks, the pressure builds, the dam weakens, and eventually it all comes flooding out. Now they're scrambling, trying to backtrack, trying to over-explain, trying to figure out how much you know. And the answer, everything. They can't undo it. They can't change what's already been revealed. And worst of all, they can't control you. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't need words to see the truth. And that's why they're scared. Not because you caught them lying, but because they know you'll never trust them again. That's the real loss for them. Not being exposed, not being called out, but losing the ability to deceive you. Because now nothing they say matters. They could beg, they could deny, they could spin an entirely new lie, but you won't believe them. Not because you're skeptical, not because you're paranoid, but because they already told you the truth through their own actions. And there's no coming back from that in conclusion. Remember this, when you operate on a deeper level, nothing can touch you. Keep rising, chosen one. Like, subscribe, drop the number 77 in the comments, and share this message. See you tomorrow.